We got him, the Grim Reaper, Stu Grimson, joining us from Nashville, Tennessee on video chat this morning on the Rod Pedersen Show. Look at that guy. He's looking like $1 million. How are you, Grimmer?
I'm great.
Yes, of course you
Never
are.
better. Things are fantastic in Nashville. Hey, I woke up this morning. It's August. Friend,
Yeah, no kidding.
Summer is flying by. Summer's almost over.
Well, yeah, you guys will be in camp soon with the Preds, and you'll be doing your thing with the NHL Network. But listen, give us a Predators update if you don't mind. There's been some sad news out of Music City with Predators alum. You had the big trade with PK Subban on draft weekend. Just give us an NHL update from Music City, because we haven't had one all summer.
I will do. Yeah, and it starts with really kind of regretful news, Rod, as you mentioned. Greg Johnson, my second captain. Tom Fitzgerald was my first captain when I played in Nashville, but Greg Johnson succeeded him. Great guy. I miss Johnny terribly. He is gone, sadly, tragically, very early. Leaves behind a beautiful wife, Kristen, and their two young daughters, Carson and Piper. So our thoughts and prayers are with the Johnson family in the aftermath, just as they deal with all that. And it has been a busy summer for the Predators and in other respects as well. David Poile, in my estimation, Rod, has done a terrific job. The one glaring weakness, maybe there's two areas that really required David to kind of take it on squarely. Meet it head on. One was he had kind of a gaping hole in the number 2 center position. He's been trying to land Matt Duchene for a good long while. Eventually was able through free agency to sign Matt Duchene to a contract. Both sides are elated about that. Matt, on the other side of the equation, has been looking to get to Nashville for a while. So I think that really is a hand in glove fit. Will give Nashville great depth down the middle. PK Subban, say what you want about him. He is a top 4 defender in the NHL, but last year, for the most part, and certainly through the playoffs, was not playing like a top 4 defender. So when you're not getting $9 million worth of value out of your $9 million defenseman, it might be a good way to part company. And that's not an easy thing to do, but made easier when you're in kind of the Predators position. And, you've got a really strong defense core, even without a guy like PK Subban. The likes of Dante Fabro will be stepping in before time. We'll see what kind of an impact he can make. But even without PK, when you look at the Roman Josi situation, Ryan Ellis, Matthias Ekholm, you've got a really sturdy top 4, I think, even without PK in the mix. So it'll be interesting to see what it looks like for the Preds in the coming year, because really the rest of the division, I think, is kind of taking some strides forward. So it remains the toughest division in hockey in my estimation, but it'll be an interesting first couple of months for the Preds as things get started.
I wanted to ask you about that, Stu, the division and the expectations for the Predators now. Is this just a reload and this team's ready to contend again, or where does the dust settle in that division?
It's funny. I think that if you look back at the Predators this time last year, you were really looking at this club going, well, gosh, they ought to go on a good long deep run. They're probably, you could look at them as the class of the Central Division, perhaps the Western Conference, just in terms of what they had on paper and what they had done in the past. It left you kind of believing that this really should be a Stanley Cup finalist again, but they fell way short of those expectations. And clubs like Dallas, clubs like, of course, St. Louis is the obvious example. These clubs they had great seasons this past year, 18-19, and they've really made some nice additions going forward. So, Nashville to me is, I don't know if I would refer to them as the class of the Western Conference or the class of the Central Division at this point. They're just another really good Central Division team, and they got their work cut out for them heading into the 19-20 campaign.
Stu, I always get the sense that Nashville is just a little bit different than some of the other southern cities in the NHL, where hockey is pretty much an afterthought except for that real niche market. I'm starting to get the vibe from people that I know that have gone to games there and been around the community that it's a lot different there, that people in Nashville embrace it like a much bigger thing than that. Do you get that sense that it's not off the radar?
Yeah, no, I really do. And it's a great point. I'm fond of saying that, Nashville, they've really taken to this club. And I think it was through playoff success that's where this town has really endeared itself to the Predators franchise. And that certainly goes the other way. Playoff hockey, I think, has given fans here a great sense of what NHL hockey is all about. So with the success of the club in past years, and certainly that great run to the Stanley Cup Finals a few years back against Pittsburgh, I think this club is well entrenched in this town, and you might even say has kind of gained market share on the Tennessee Titans. Like, let's be clear, this is football country. This is college basketball country, but the Predators really have a special place in this market. I'm fond of saying when you take when you step inside the Bridgestone Arena to see Nashville Predators NHL hockey played, they've kind of put their own stamp on it, just from the way these folks cheer about the game, the way they celebrate goals, the way they taunt the opposition goaltender after they've lit them up. Nashville really does hockey in their own specific way. I think it's part of the charm, it's part of the attraction, and it's unique to any other market. It's a lot of fun to be a spectator at the Bridgestone Arena for NHL hockey, without question.
Well, it's becoming not a secret anymore, the whole Nash Vegas thing, Grimmer. We've talked about that, and it's just great city for partying, obviously, kind of surpassing Las Vegas. And it's a destination you need to go for hockey. Darren, we won't keep Grimmer much longer, but you want to ask him the Dan Kesmer question, because I'd like to hear the answer to it as well. Dan Kesmer was on our show, Grimmer, when we were through Nashville in December. He had a story about you, and we'd like some corroboration this morning. So, Darren, you go ahead.
Well, what was the story? It was an alumni game.
Or denial.
Yeah, exactly. It was an alumni game, and he said along the lines of, I think he caught you with an elbow or something
by accident
in the alumni game, and I think you were going to kill him, and he
threatened to kill him.
He was worried for his life, and I think you guys were in the locker room after, and he looks at you and he was saying, Stu, I'm really sorry. I hope it's okay. I hope this is, and you looked at him, you're like, what are you talking about? I don't know what happened.
Completely forgot
the
about
switch flipped right back off. Do you remember? Does that happen often?
I do remember. And Dan Kesmer's referral to that elbow as accidental is way off the mark. Do you want to know why? Right before he did it, he said, "Watch this."
Sounds intentional.
Yeah, sounds intentional to me.
Sounded intentional to me. Anytime you're kind of calling your shot with a "watch this," it was intentional to me, and it's probably the reason my wires got crossed.
Well, there's always three sides to every story, as we know, Stu. Hey, listen, I appreciate you spending some time with us this morning. Estevan says hi. They're still talking about our night down there, and looking forward to getting you back here home soon.
Hey, I tell you what, I'm coming up there soon. I'm going to be there in November, I think the 12th or something like that. My new book, The Grim Reaper, comes out. I probably shouldn't say too much. That's a soft little tell where you guys are concerned, but I want to take advantage of the opportunity. Book comes out in October. I'll give you the dates at a later time, but I'll be up there for a speaking engagement and a book signing, I believe the middle of November, so watch for us.
All right, well, you're always welcome here at your second home, and that book will sell like hotcakes here on the prairies. Grimmer, thanks for this. Have a great rest of the week.
My pleasure.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.